Greetings, Twitter. How are y'all doing today? I'm live again today. Live one more time. This may be sort of like a extended edition, as it were, because I originally wanted to talk about. I really wanted to talk about the controversy with Tucker Carlson, actually, and because I had been kind of looking into that a little bit last night, and I found it I saw like the first maybe few minutes, first 10 minutes of it, and the way he painted the events of January 6th, it kind of sours it a little bit, because you got all this footage that is conclusively proving, what actually happened. And the thing is, it's not only documented footage. You got to remember when these occurrences, or when this event occurred, cameras were there live. News media cameras were there live. They carried it live. So unfortunately, it's not a manner of it being. What is the expression? It's not the matter of it being doctored footage. It's not. The live transmissions of the news medias that were there, that they prove exactly what went on. Now, what happened indoors? Obviously, not everybody's going to be aggressive, argumentative, fighting, whatnot. So it stands to reason that there was going to be some calm moments. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. I also wanted to throw an update your way with respect to what I was talking about last night. Last night I mentioned that I had read a story in an out-of-state news media website that discussed a lawsuit by 5 women in the state of Texas that were suing because they sustained injuries. Some were forced to go, get to the point of almost dying because they could not have medically necessary abortion for the specific complications that they were having in their pregnancies. Well, I actually had the chance to look at the lawsuit, and I have not had a chance to really assimilate it completely, but I did look at it enough to give me a general feel for it. As you can see, the ladies, there's the names of the ladies. This was filed in Austin, Texas, from what I understand, in Travis County. It's in a state district court. Now, they're suing the state of Texas, Attorney General Ken Paxton, in his official capacity, the Texas Medical Board, and Stephen Brent Carlson as executive director of the Texas Medical Board. So basically, they've laid out their defendants. Now, it's interesting to see that when they mention the state of Texas, you're obviously going to think, okay, it's kind of too broad, right? And I made a comment on Twitter earlier this morning, and somebody commented back and said, well, given how they said state of Texas and how broad it is, it's probably the case is going to fail because it's not specific. Now, upon looking at the lawsuit, and if we look at for just a moment, the section that says defendants, this is what made it interesting to me. It says defendant, state of Texas, is responsible for the enforcement of Texas laws, and I'm reading it, what you see on the screen, including its abortion bans and emergent medical condition exception. The state of Texas includes private citizens that could potentially enforce SB 8. It's interesting that they mention the state of Texas. as being responsible for the enforcement of Texas laws. She's talking in general about the state, but the lawyers are quick to point out that in the state of Texas, this includes private citizens that could potentially enforce SB 8. Now, SB 8's enforcement mechanism when lawmakers wrote the law was that citizens would be able to sue providers for facilitating an abortion, which is against the law. So, the manner in which this is worded kind of is set to include not only private citizens but anybody that is necessarily involved with the function of these abortion laws. Okay, she's next to address the defendant Ken Paxton as the Attorney General of Texas, who is empowered to institute an action for a civil penalty against physicians licensed in Texas who violate or threaten to violate any provision of the Texas Medical Practice Act, including provisions triggered by a violation of the trigger ban. So she's talking about the trigger ban. I mean, the attorneys are talking about the trigger ban and the SB 8. So they're covering both laws, okay? And then it says that according to the trigger ban, he can seek a civil penalty of at least $100,000 plus attorney's fees and costs. Paxton has threatened that he will strictly enforce the trigger ban. And there's a footnote, number 5, which is, if we look at the lawsuit, and I don't want to pull it up, I don't want to get too much into it, is a link where there's a statement on his website, on Attorney General's website, saying that yes, he will enforce strictly the trigger ban. And that it goes on to say that Paxton is sued in his official capacity and may be served with process at, and it has his office address there. Basically, that right there, because it's general but it's specific, works in favor of the plaintiff in this case. Now the lawsuit goes and outlines the history of all these plaintiffs, what they went through, medical terms and everything. The fact that some of the plaintiffs they were carrying twins. One of the twins had some sort of defect or deform to the effect that they would not survive. And normally for that particular, from what I understand, for that particular treatment, it's normally recommended if one of the two fetuses is not viable or is not going to survive, to do what's called a reduced pregnancy, where they technically terminate the one pregnancy that's not viable in order to allow the other one to survive. And unfortunately, that particular treatment is basically, in a nutshell, a form of abortion. And this is the reason why this lawsuit came about, because these ladies were unable to secure that treatment because of the law. Physicians did not want to risk their licenses on that. So these women were forced to carry these pregnancies close to full term, to the point where they literally got really sick and almost died. So that's basically, in a nutshell, the gist of the part of the lawsuit. You have 2 ladies also, or 3 ladies that had issues with their pregnancy, were not able. They needed to terminate the pregnancy to not risk the health of the woman. These are legitimate medical issues, medical complications. We're not able to do so because of the abortion law. So, in the lawsuit, they go case by case. They explain it in detail, and basically what they're asking for is that, and they're kind of specific in saying, okay, well, you've got one law that says you can't do an abortion if there's a heartbeat, but you have another law that says basically you can't abort after 6 weeks or something like that. Plus, citizens have the ability to sue. So you've got all these components working in tandem. Doesn't allow the doctors much option as to how to treat these women. So this is where this lawsuit is coming from. So in fact, there is a lawsuit, and I was amazed to see how quickly it picked up publicity throughout the course of the day. And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to update on it, was because I actually had a chance to look at the lawsuit a little bit, and I actually saw how it's how basically it is gaining momentum publicity-wise. And I believe that this is going to really going to factor in how these laws are going to be enforced going on out. And I would venture to even say that this lawsuit in itself, depending upon how it goes, may be the catalyst to motivate other lawsuits in other states. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing. I'm thinking that is normally. I mean, I think that mainly is what is probably going to happen. Is that as a result of this lawsuit, you're going to start seeing lawsuits popping up in other states that have these abortion laws. So it's going to. It's going to be interesting to see the turnout. This is going to set a whole new precedent legally if lawsuits like these go through and these plaintiffs actually win. So it's going to be fairly interesting to see how this is going to play out. Well, going to my other topic, which is Tucker Carlson, he started revealing some videos of January 6th, and apparently not many people are taking it in a greatly, even in his own party. You have some Democrats that are pissed off about it. Senator Schumer talked about it. Benny Thompson, the chairman of the now defunct January 6th committee, said that McCarthy made a grave mistake by giving this guy this footage. And you knew that Tucker Carlson was going to come back and try to paint a different picture. I said initially, and in a Twitter post somewhere, I don't know if I live streamed it or I said in Twitter, I said that honestly, Tucker Carlson is more than likely going to make a mistake. He's going to be making a huge mistake by doing this, because Fox News' credibility is like at an all-time low right now with the lawsuit that they have with Dominion. And the worst possible thing he can do is try to clean up the image by promoting what everybody knows is more than likely a lie. As I said earlier, the fact of the matter is what is going to make his case so difficult, if not impossible, is the fact that a lot of the footage that has been seen and was released was footage that was broadcast live on different news medias. It was transmitted on Fox News, Newsmax, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS. All these news medias basically broadcast the action live as it was happening from the state's capital. You cannot contradict live footage. I mean, it's there. It's undisputable. You can't say it was doctored because it was like I said, it was live. So this puts Tucker Carlson in a very, very, very difficult position, because how do you go promoting something you know is not true? He's probably doing it to save the face of Fox News, but it's, in all honesty, the way I see it, and I know that a lot of Americans probably see it the same way, in all honesty, he's fighting a losing battle. He's only damaging his credibility more than it already is. Suffice it to say, he's pissed off a lot of people now. One particular person that really fought back and blasted him was the chief of the Capitol Police Department, Thomas Manger. The letter that he wrote. He said last night, and I'm going to read it. It says last night an opinion program aired commentary that was filled with offensive and misleading conclusions about the January 6th attack. The opinion program never reached out to the department to provide accurate context. That's important because in what Tucker Carlson said, he said he worked together with the Capitol Police to make sure that the footage he aired did not have any classified security information. He said that in his program. Based on the statement that this police chief is giving, Tucker is lying. Who's telling the truth? The Capitol Police Department chief or Tucker Carlson? This here discredits Tucker Carlson big time. Big time. He says one false allegation is that our officers helped the rioters and acted as tour guides. He said this is outrageous and false. He says this department stands by the officers in the video that was shown last night. I don't have to remind you, he says, how outnumbered our officers were on January 6th. Those officers did their best to use de-escalation tactics to try to talk rioters into getting each other to leave the building. He says the program conveniently cherry-picked from the calmer moments of our 41,000 hours of video. The commentary, it says the commentary fails to provide context about the chaos and violence that happened before or during these tense moments. He says, finally, the most disturbing accusation from last night was that our late friend and colleague Brian Sicknick's death had nothing to do with his historic actions on January 6th. That's a statement that Tucker Carlson made that, in my opinion, is unforgivable. Unforgivable. And I'll leave it at that. The department maintains, as anyone with common sense would, that had Officer Sicknick not fought valiantly for hours on the day that he was violently assaulted, Officer Sicknick would not have died the next day. He says, as some people select from 41,000 hours of video clips that seemingly support the narrative they want to push, those of you who were here on January 6th, and he's talking to the officers at the department, he says, those of you that were here on January 6th, those of you that were in the fight, those of you who ensured that no member of Congress was hurt, those of you who contributed to the effort to allow this country's legislative process to continue, know firsthand what actually happened. He says, you fought like hell on January 6th and risked your lives, he says, to protect the Constitution and everything this country stands for, he says. You, along with our law enforcement partners, saved every member of Congress and their staff. He says, TV commentary will not record the truth for our history books. The justice system will. Truth and justice are on our side. And I want to add one little thing to that. He says TV commentary will not record the truth for our history books, but I guarantee you this. TV coverage, live TV coverage, will record the truth for us. And I say that because, as I said it earlier, the fact of the matter is, a lot of the footage that was shown was repeated footage that a lot of the mainstream media was already broadcasting the incident live on major news networks. You can't get any more accurate than that. Okay? You can't get any more accurate than that. Not only that, that caused a lot of static with a lot of people in Tucker's, because Tucker's a Republican, conservative. That touched lit a lot of fuses amongst conservatives. Speaker Mitch McConnell, or Minority Speaker Mitch McConnell. He said that Tucker Carlson's depiction of January 6th was a mistake, and he even flashed the letter that was sent to the Capitol Police. Okay? Senator Kevin Cramer said that it was just a lie to compare January 6th to a peaceful protest. Some senators said that it was bull, okay, and rebuked Tucker Carlson for downplaying January 6th as mostly peaceful. He's ruffled feathers on both sides of the aisle, and he has no regard for it. He has shown blatant disregard in that respect, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, as Americans, this is one of the reasons why I have said in the past. I had said in the past this. I said, as American citizens, we need to open our eyes and we need to look at things outside the box, as it were. Because of the fact that things are going to be said and done that morally, ethically, are not correct. Already, Kevin McCarthy has been slapped an ethics complaint for doing what he did, providing this footage to Tucker Carlson freely and openly. But a lot of the stuff that these conservative parties and political parties are doing, not conservative only, but Democrat, a lot of what these political parties are doing is some of it is ethically incorrect, some of it is morally incorrect. I can tell you almost for certain that some of these local conservative parties, like the local GOP, if you look at their principles, in their platform, it is so conflicted. And I understand why by looking at them, and I think this is one thing that I might do on another live stream sooner or later. But because if I want to do it, I want to get a little bit detailed into it. But there is a lot of conflict in a lot of these conservative party, Democratic Party platforms, their principles. Texas, for an example, in the principles they say that they want to protect human life at any stage from birth until death. Well, protection means prevention in some instances. And they also say that they defend the Second Amendment, as an example. And they say in their principle, they're basically saying, okay, their outlines with specificity that they want to do it with all legislation that has to deal with gun control or something like that. Well, if you're lax on that issue, and that issue is as controversial as it is because of these mass shootings, those mass shootings are an obvious conflict to your principle of preserving human life. I mean, that's a basic concept of a conflict. So, the way this is playing. This is all playing out. It's just ridiculous, But with the issue, what Tucker Carlson is doing, he is really ruffling feathers. He is really putting himself in a position. Honestly, I don't want to think about the future that lies with Tucker Carlson, because of the fact that we don't know what the result of the lawsuit between Dominion Voting and Fox News is gonna lead to. Could lead to the end of Fox News. I mean, I can only imagine the size of the judgment that Dominion would probably get from Fox News, given the fact that even Fox News' president has admitted to the wrongdoing. So Dominion stands to get a huge remittance or a huge judgment. Will that will that judgment be the end of Fox News? We don't know. It would be sad to see that happen, given the effort that Tucker Carlson is putting out to try to make this perspective work in Fox's favor. But Tucker Carlson, you have to understand the damage has been done. The damage has been done, and there's no going back. My advice to a journalist such as Tucker Carlson is, your days are likely numbered. You need to do what is right, and you need to go out on an honorable note, on an honorable voice. If you don't do that, then you're not going to leave a legacy or a mark in the world of journalism. Plain and simple. That's all I have for today, really. I wanted to just touch base on these two stories, and I will be reviewing the lawsuit for the abortion, and I cannot wait to see what the response is going to be from Ken Paxton. I'm also expecting a response from two others to come out of the news. One is the director of the medical board, state medical board, and the other one is going to be the senator who authored the abortion laws. Because I want to see what they have to say, you know. I want to see what they have to say, and I'm hoping that. Hold on, my screen's acting up. I'm hoping that they have something interesting to say, you know. I mean, it's all possible. You know that. They're going to talk, and they're probably going to say, okay, well, we're going to fight this thing. We're going to protect, unborn children and all this. But this jibber jabber, whatever you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is, and it all boils down to the simplest of things. When Senator Brian Hughes, the senator who authored the bill SB 8, which is the Texas abortion law, with the civilian enforcement mechanism, I don't think he or his colleagues, I don't think they thought out the entire wording and process of the law. Their intent was to protect all human life from, unborn children. But in all honesty, hearing all these stories because these 5 women are only the tip of the iceberg. There's been other stories that have come out in the medias over the course of the last several months since SBA came out. And so this is not just five initial instances. This is 5 instances of a multitude of instances or incidents that have occurred. And at the beginning, as I may have mentioned a long time ago, when I first started analyzing some of these lawsuits that had to deal with the abortion law and SB 8, I made mention that as far as abortion is concerned, I was not going to say or state whether I was for it or against it, because my view on abortion, I wanted my view to be open. I wanted my view to be neutral. I mean, my intent was to analyze these lawsuits, look at both sides, and give what I thought was probably my view as to who had the better chance of winning. And that's what I've always done. Over time, I've seen these stories. I've watched these interviews with these women that have had these specific types of cases, complications. You know, and I've talked with a friend or two who are doctors or work in the medical industry, and I've come to the realization that even though abortion abortion in all reality is a medical treatment, it was initially used at the beginning to deal with these specific types of complications and issues. What happened was it just as COVID, just as other topics, was made a political issue because, and that's the thing, when you turn something into a political issue, you motivate people to want to do it just for the hell of it. They do it to prove a point. With in the case of abortion, you have women that seeing it as an easier out than doing birth control. They're like, okay, well, I don't want to do birth control. I'd rather have an abortion. They're turning it from a necessary medical treatment to a convenient option, a convenient out. And that's what it was never meant to be. And because of that, it has incited, parties like the Republicans to want to do away with it. That's why you have a lot of anti-abortion people, because they see that this is being used as a convenience, and it's killing innocent life. And that, it's understandable. But the fact of the matter is that before this convenient option ever took that form, it has always been a medical treatment to deal with women who are pregnant that have these specific complications that require the medical necessity of terminating an unviable or pregnancy, or a pregnancy that cannot a fetus that will not be able to survive outside the womb. And I think that in a nutshell, the author of these laws, in my case in the state of Texas, it was Senator Brian Hughes. But I'm thinking that these laws that were made on the books against abortion, in all honesty, they were not entirely thought out. Because if they had been thought out, there would have been specific provisions to accommodate these specific medical issues, these medical complications. And that's not the case. The laws are too broad. The laws are not clearly defined. In Texas' case, you got two laws that conflict, or not necessarily conflict, but you got two laws that conflict with what the medical necessity of an abortion is. You can't abort if there's a heartbeat. You can't abort after 6 weeks. The heartbeat is the one that really most kills it, which is the trigger band. But even though SB 8 allows for a medical emergency, you've got the heartbeat bill or the heartbeat law that doesn't allow it. So you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't. There's no way out. And I think these lawmakers, they did not see this completely when they made these laws, and it's going to be on them. I read somewhere today that somebody said, well, if in all due chance a woman does die because of this, can these lawmakers be criminally liable for creating a law that killed an innocent woman because she was not able to do the necessary medical procedure to terminate a pregnancy that otherwise, if they had done it, would have saved her life? I definitely would not want to see a lawsuit of that nature. But I would be interested to see. I would be interested in the same time to see how it would play out, because if a woman were to die because of this, I would certainly have to believe that there has to be, one way or another, a degree of criminal liability. Whether it wouldn't be on the doctor, because the doctor would be like, I'm following the law, plain and simple. But he would still had to be charged criminally, I would think. I don't know. In all honesty, until I see a case like that play out, I can't say yay or nay. But I would think that the individual or individuals who wrote the law would have to have, and in this case, the individual who also signed the bill into law would have to assume a very certain degree of criminal liability. Am I right or wrong? I don't know. You tell me. Comment. I'm open to comments to see what you guys think. If I'm right or wrong, I don't know. Well, that's all I have for today. I might do another live stream later on. If not, I will see you the next time I come on live. I hope this was informative, and I hope I didn't bore you all with such a long 36-minute stream. But I felt it necessary to talk about all that I've talked about, basically. Well, thank you very much for your time, and have a very good evening. Thank you.